And for more on this, we're joined by Peter Zalmayev. He's the director of the Eurasian Democracy Initiative. Thanks for being with us here on France 24.
Sure.
You know, we just heard in that report the latest developments on the ground. So what is your assessment? Overall, how successful has Ukraine been in holding off these Russian advances?
Well, Ukraine has been more successful than many expected from the beginning of this war when it fought off Russians from the vicinity of Kiev, essentially, running the enemy off with the tail behind its legs. Considering that the enemy side, outnumbers and outguns Ukraine almost 10-1 in some cases. What Ukraine has done has been nothing short of remarkable. Already we have an assessment from the Pentagon saying that the HIMARS systems, which are high mobility artillery rocket systems produced in the state of Arkansas, we have now gotten another 4, a promise of another 4, making it a total of 12 very soon. It's not a big number, it's not a huge number, but Ukrainians, as the Pentagon says, have done a marvelous job using them. Still, it has had to retreat in the last few days tactically to save its troops, simply because right now Russia continues to dominate as far as its resources and Soviet-era weaponry, and the West needs to, that's what Ukrainians believe, that the West needs to step up and speed up deliveries of weapons.
Well, do you think the U.S. and its allies will continue their military and financial support in the long run or not? And what effect would that have on the outcome of the war?
Well, already, I mean, the New York Times is reporting that the Biden administration, while on the one hand is very, wary of pressuring or being seen as pressuring the Ukrainians into any sort of concessions to the Russians, let alone territorial concessions. They are very well aware that the fatigue will eventually set in, as with any of the conflict. It's a human trait, right? And so, and the winter is coming, obviously, to sort of refer to the popular series, the Game of Thrones. The winter is coming, and obviously Russians and Vladimir Putin is counting on his ability to outlast the weak, as he sees them, Europeans, who will really worry about their gas supplies, etc., their comfort, over any sort of continued sympathy for a country far away like Ukraine. And so still there's a hefty size of the Western establishment, and especially in Britain and in the UK, in the United States, who believe that there's no other option. Once you've said it, you have to be with Ukraine all the way. You cannot be seen as wavering. This is exactly what Vladimir Putin will smell, and he will hope to capitalize on, and he will hope to sit you out.
Well, so the U.S. has pledged or given some $54 billion. Do you think that level of support can continue?
Well, apparently it's calculated to last until the second quarter of next year. After that, if you read the pundits in the American press, they will tell you that chances are slim. And also, you have to keep in mind there will be most likely will be a new Congress. Both chambers, the House of Representatives and the Senate, may be in Republicans' hands. Whether that will affect it or not, I'm not sure. But let's say if former President Trump's wing prevails in some of these elections, and it will tilt the balance of the makeup in Congress in its favor. Well, Donald Trump has sounded very skeptical about continued support of Ukraine. So let's say if Trump decides to come to power in 24, we may be sure to see Russian attempts again, like in 2016, as they say, to continue to support Donald Trump, and hope that when he comes to power, they'll be able to strike some kind of Yalta II agreement between the two powers, and let Ukraine be happy with the spoils, so to speak.
Now, I don't know if you can answer this because this was just being reported today, but Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has just dismissed several of Kyiv's ambassadors abroad, including those to Germany, India, Czech Republic, Norway, and Hungary. He gave no explanation about this. Why would he do something like that?
Well, I'm actually, yes, I am. I've heard that this decision may be in the making. You just told me and finally confirmed that it did happen. I'll be very careful with my, suppositions. But the ambassador to Germany, for example, was Mr. Melnik was very vociferous in his criticism of German leaders. Sometimes he probably overstepped the boundary of diplomatic language, so to speak. And so they may have calculated that it's probably have to go easy on some of these countries and their governments and try to have a little more finesse, understanding the particularities of each given situation. And I think this is also part of the realization that Germany has actually finally come to Ukraine's aid, has finally started correcting its previous sort of indecision and hesitancy, and so there was a need for a new diplomatic chief in Berlin.
Okay. Peter Zalmayev, director of the Eurasian Democracy Initiative. Thanks so much for your insight today.
Thank you. Thank you.